Hello, Linda.
Hello, John. How are you?
I'm okay, thanks.
Are you struggling with the technology, John?
No, I think we're okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
No one else is switching their video on.
I think I switched mine on, but I can't see myself.
No.
Can you see me, Linda?
No, there's a little video.
I can do it. I think I can do it for you, Susan.
Thank you.
I can't see anyone. Not John, not Jane.
I can't see.
I've got it, John. I've got it. There you go.
Hello, Sue.
Oh, I can't see myself.
There's a little video.
Oh, video. Yes,
at the top, and if it's got a line through,
yeah,
you have to tap it. And
yeah, I've done it. Yeah. Gosh.
Good.
Gosh, well, this is exciting.
Yes. Can you see me now, Linda?
Yes, I can see everyone except Marjorie.
Right.
But there's only 5 of us, I believe, at the moment.
Yes.
I know Mary's waiting to be let in.
Yes. She is. There she is. She's in now.
I think you have to keep your eye on that waiting room. It doesn't alert you, does it, John? According to our clerk, she has to keep checking it.
Yeah, I've got it at the sidebar, but it also makes a pinging noise when somebody joins the waiting room, I think.
Just to make the most of this, you know, by the time everyone's in, if there are 50 of us, we'll be like pinheads.
Yes, indeed. I'm
on an iPad, so I get 16, I think, pictures. So I have to swipe through screens, swipe sideways and forwards. Hi, Mary.
Hi everyone. Hi, John.
Hello, Mary. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Hello, Mary.
And Jack is there. Hello, Jackie.
Hello.
Good to hear you.
Thank you. Good to be with you. Thank you.
It's good because I think you missed the last one, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I couldn't connect.
Jonathan.
But this time did send me the link and it's working for me, so that's good.
That's good.
Yes.
And can you see us and hear us all?
Yes, I can see you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Hello, Jonathan. Just seen you there.
I'm Marjorie Ouvry. I use Marjorie's machine. I'm getting one of my own soon because we conflict all the time. She's busy on a music course upstairs while I'm down here looking at this.
Well, at least there has been less trouble this time, Jonathan, than in November.
Ah, yes.
When you were dashing up and down stairs to try and find a computer that would link. Right. Hello, Karen.
Hello.
Hello, Dot. Oh, they're all coming in now. Jackie, if you want, I don't think you've got your video bit.
No, I'll have to see. Yeah, that didn't come for me today. Didn't ask me.
No, it's on. It should be on your screen down in the bottom left or somewhere.
Okay.
With a video camera with a cross through it.
Yeah.
And if you click on there, that will give you the video access.
Okay. Let's see. Let's hope. Yeah.
Are you on an iPad or a laptop, Jacqueline?
I'm on an iPhone at this point. I couldn't
John,
connect
hi, it's Dot.
the iPad.
Greetings,
There we are.
John,
Hello,
Hi.
hello. That's good. Well done.
from across the pond.
Yes. Yes, indeed. That's the nice thing about this, isn't it? We've got people from all over the world.
Oh, it's just wonderful. I'm just
It
so
is.
delighted to be with you.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
I think on an iPhone, the video might be on the top right. I'm not sure.
If it's the same as an iPad, it's across the top. It's just the little video camera like you see
Thinking
on
for
the Zoom
Jackie.
icon. And if you touch that, it's got a line through it if you're not on video. And if you
Right,
touch
got the
it,
line through it, yes.
if you touch
Yeah.
it, the line you should become visible. There she goes.
That's better. I
And
can
then
see
that,
myself
Chris.
now. Oh, Dennis. Good. Hello, Dennis.
Hello, Dennis.
Hello.
Hello.
That's hello, Anne.
John, is Jackie
Yeah.
is Jacqueline Viv's sister?
She is
Yes,
indeed.
I am. Yes, I
Hello,
am.
Jackie. This is Mary. I
Hello.
thought I recognised your voice.
Yes, okay. I already waved at you when I
Oh,
saw
right.
you on
Well, I
earlier.
can't see you,
didn't-
but it's lovely to hear you.
Yeah, okay. Lovely to see you
Yeah.
and hear you as well, Mary. Yes, thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was
I'm still
talking to
trying
Viv the other day, and
to
I
go to work.
said when I come down to when I'm able to go and see her, I'll be coming to see you.
Excellent. I look forward to that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is Viv joining us?
Yeah,
She should be. She sent me the link.
she
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Is that Jill?
I think it might be. Is that you, Jill?
Brenda.
Is that Jill?
It's Brenda. It's Brenda.
Oh, Brenda.
Brenda.
Hello.
Hello,
Hello.
Brenda.
Hi. Am I with the meeting?
You are.
Oh, okay. I can't see anything. I'm just listening on the.
Well, somewhere on your screen, there'll be a little image of a video camera. Can you see that?
No,
And
there isn't on mine. I'm just looking at the numbers to dial.
Are you on an iPhone?
Hello? Yes. Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hi, I'm trying to get through to the meeting.
You're in the meeting.
We can hear you,
Yeah,
Brenda,
there's
but we
nothing on
can't
the
see
screen.
you.
We
No,
can
I
hear
can't
you.
see you.
No,
Oh.
you need. You've got an iPhone, Linda, haven't you?
I have, but I've never used it for Zoom.
Oh, right.
Ask Juliet. She's here now. She'll know.
Oh no.
All right, because it's saying wrong passcode. Now I've got through finally. Is Juliet there?
Yeah.
I am there. Yeah,
Hello?
Yes,
I
she
don't
is.
have an iPhone. I'm just looking in on my phone at the minute to see
how you sort of,
Thanks, Julia.
is it just the video that you can't get?
It is.
Yes.
Maybe we should make it
Just the video.
play to video that to Brenda, that the lecture hasn't started yet. She may be thinking she's missing the lecture when she's not.
Yeah, I know it starts at 2:30.
Yeah.
Brenda, usually when you come in, it says start with audio before you get through.
Well, mine just went straight onto audio when I pressed the codes.
Have you
You've
got
got
any?
the audio, then you haven't got the video.
Oh, you've got audio, haven't you? Yeah.
I've got video on my iPhone, but it's not coming up. I'm just looking at a bunch of numbers to dial.
Well, you don't need those. Somewhere along the bottom of the screen, there's a list. There are lots of little like
Icons.
logo
Icons.
icons.
All I'm looking at is the dial. Hang on, let me press hide, see what happens. Okay, contact. Shall I press that?
No.
It's usually participants, it says, rather than contacts, isn't it?
FaceTime?
No.
What about?
Have you got the Zoom app on your phone, Brenda?
Well, it kept saying incorrect ID, but I dialed the number and eventually got through. But I'm just looking at my dialing code now. It does say FaceTime and contact.
You have to do it. Look, where is it?
No.
There it is.
It sounds like you might not
I'm
even
gonna
have the
press
Zoom app on your
FaceTime.
phone.
And if you want the whole thing, there you are. If you want to exit full screen, you just wait till it does that. Somehow something's happening, is that right? Telephone.
Yeah, if it's somebody trying to get.
Ooh.
It happens again, you know the little icon press.
Yeah, I was looking for it, but I couldn't see it.
Hello, Viv.
Hello, John. Hi, everyone. Hello.
Hi, Viv.
Hi.
Hi, Viv.
Hi, Linda, Joe, Juliet. Who's there? Sue. Hello, oh, Jonathan. Good to see you. Hello, everyone.
Hello, Viv.
Jacqueline. Hello.
Yeah.
Oh,
I made it, but I haven't got the video on. I don't know why.
Who's that?
I've got the audio, but not the video.
oh, this is my sister, John.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is my sister. Yes.
Hello,
We've
Jackie.
already had a conversation. Hi.
Oh, well done, dear. Oh,
Yes, but
fantastic.
I've only got the audio on,
Yeah.
not the video. Not the video. I
No,
don't
but
know
it's the
why that
first
is.
time you've managed it, so
Yes,
I'm
yes.
thrilled.
Better than the last time. Thank you for the link.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello.
Good. Can you see us though, Jackie? You know
No, I
Mary,
can't
don't you?
because-
It's Brenda
No,
here. I
I
can't see
I
anything.
saw
But
Mary at the
I'll just
beginning.
listen, shall I?
Yeah, I think
I can
you.
hear Brenda arriving. How
Yeah, Brent.
wonderful.
I think the best thing is just to listen, Brenda, unless
Just
you
to
can
listen.
find that
Yeah,
little
that's
icon.
fine.
But at least you'll hear it.
Yes.
Yes, there's
Um,
no icon at all, just a bunch of numbers to pound.
Right.
So I'll just listen.
Good morning from Northern California.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Eleanor. Hello, Joy.
Joy. Hi.
Hi, Joy.
Hello.
This is Jackie here.
Jackie.
Hello, Joy. Yeah, lovely to make it.
There we are. Hi.
today.
Oh, wonderful.
You got yourself, Mrs. Scott?
Yeah, I have them. Got my cup of tea.
Is that Viv? I can hear in the background.
Yes. Hello, Brenda. Brenda, your voice is so
Hello.
distinctive.
Brenda.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm
Joy.
here.
Hello. Sue and John.
Hello, hello, John and Sue Cuts.
Dennis.
Hi, Pam.
Right.
Pam, hello.
Hi,
Hello,
Pam.
Pam. We're going to admit Anthea Turner now. Margaret Hughes. And Eleanor's joined us. Where are you, Eleanor?
It's every time it's really quite exciting.
Eleanor's just joined or rejoined, I think, the fellowship, and she's living in Italy.
Wow.
Oh, very nice.
Which
Very
is a fine-
international meeting.
It is, isn't it? Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm afraid I've got
Hi,
a garden
thank you.
project. Sorry. I'm in the middle of a garden project with someone, so I'll be flitting in and out. Nice to see you all anyway.
Just shot the dog.
Warm my tea up.
I'll do it.
I'll go.
Hello, Saul.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, and you. Saul has only just joined the fellowship in the last week, so welcome to you.
Thank you.
I was going to say that I think my sister's one of our most recent members, but Saul, I think, beats that.
Yeah, there have been 2 or 3 this week, actually, Viv,
Yes. Good.
including Eleanor in Italy.
Oh, how wonderful.
It's terrific. Yeah.
I'm working on bringing my daughter in as well.
Yes, I've been in
Yeah.
touch with her. Yeah.
She's the one who loves Middlemarch, doesn't she, Saul?
That's right. She started me there.
It's good to start
Haven't
there.
been
maybe
able
we
to
finish
stop
well.
since.
Did anyone see the column in the Times, Terrace Matthews this morning? She said Middlemarch was her favourite book.
Oh, gosh.
I saw that. Yeah, I've just been reading it.
Yeah.
I'm having a wonderful time with Daniel Deronda.
Oh, good. How far are you with Daniel Deronda?
Oh, a little over 300 pages.
Oh, great. Yes,
A mere
a
500 or
wonderful
600 left.
book. Oh, well done.
So I think.
Why have we got those dog?
What? Oh, it's just because we're in that corner, but it doesn't matter. It's
Hello, Andrew.
Hello.
Start video. Hi.
Wow.
So we've got 41 people so far.
Goodness.
I've had bookings from or places for about 56, 57. So that's a really nice number.
Thanks for sending me the stuff, John.
You're welcome.
You look on the, you see other people, except you can't.
I don't think they go in English, do they?
No.
With me in.
I think you need a proper computer for it. I wonder what Marianne Evans would think of Zoom.
I wonder, yes.
What have I done? Oh, there we are.
He'd roll with it.
Hi, Rue. Hi.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, Ken.
Hi, Mary.
Ken, hi.
Oh, video. There we go. Oh, yeah. Oh, here we are.
Hello, Valerie. Lovely
Hello,
to see
John.
you.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, Valerie.
Hello.
Oh, how lovely. Oh, this is great. I hope we can keep this up afterwards, you know, when we get back to normal.
It would be nice, wouldn't it?
I just love it.
I know.
I actually see more of you,
Yeah.
you know, in this situation.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes.
Hello, Valerie.
Maybe better than flying in from Switzerland,
Oh,
Valerie.
well, it's not the same. It would never replace,
it's not.
actually being in your
I know.
company. But I'm not making any plans. It's, makes me too nervous.
What makes you nervous? The Zoom?
Just, all the paraphernalia with flying at the moment. I just think.
I'm a nervous wreck.
Are you? Oh.
Well, trying to get through. I can hear, but I can't see.
Oh, where
Hello,
are you?
Kathy.
Oh, has our speaker arrived?
Yes, I think so.
Oh, good.
Can you hear us, Kathy?
Lots of people are on mute.
Oh yeah. Oh, I think I better. I
Are we on mute? No.
We'll all be muted at some point, I suspect.
To see us anyway. We'll appear somewhere in here.
Kathy, you're still on mute.
I see. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
They're married.
Right. Somebody else. We're up to 47 now. Everything okay with you, Kathy? Also, Kathy, I think your microphone might be.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hooray.
Hi.
Hello.
God, technology. Oh, what a business. Well, great. Anyway, thank goodness I'm here, and my camera just is broken on my computer. So,
well, we've got 47 people in at the moment, Kathy.
Gosh, amazing. Yeah.
Perhaps if everybody's happy, just for a couple of minutes, just in case there are a few. I've got about another 10 names, so there may still be people trying to join us.
Yeah.
But at least we have our guest speaker, and that's the important thing. If it was a real live meeting at Chilvers Coton and it was 29 minutes past 2 and our speaker wasn't there, you'd be beginning to panic a bit, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's true.
Life has changed so much with Zoom, it really has. So we have an international audience for you, Kathy.
Goodness. People
from Italy and from America.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And all over the UK, of course.
Let me just check. Well, while we're waiting, can I just ask? Am I audible properly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Audible but not visible to some of us.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm here. I'm under the name Kathy O.
Kathy O.
Yes.
So you just have to change your screen. There's 2 screens on gallery. Just go to the next one.
Oh, okay. Hang on. Screens on gallery.
Hello.
Wait, is the gallery at the top or the bottom?
The gallery is the view. So if you click
on
the gallery, and then you'll see 1 of 2 or 2 of 2.
Oh wow, yeah, here we are.
That's fine, Kathy. We can see you.
Is that okay?
Yeah. The person who couldn't see you is Brenda, and she's got problems with her access, but she can hear you, so that will be fine. That will be absolutely fine.
Excellent.
So we've had one other person has just joined.
Oh, there's Viv.
No, because he's live.
Good to see you, John Cutts. Last time, I think at the AGM, you were confined to your sick bed.
Yeah, I was a poorly bunny, but I'm okay now.
You're okay now.
Thank you. Thank you for asking.
Hi, Bev. I've just seen you. Hi.
This is so great to see everybody. Thanks,
Yeah.
John. again for
Hello,
just-
Beverly.
Yeah, John, thank you so much for doing this.
Beverly on the screen at the moment will be our next speaker in 3 weeks' time. And it will be, it'll be really interesting, I guarantee.
New revelations about George
New
Eliot.
revelation. That's right. Yes. Yeah.
And I just want to call out my students who are here.
Oh, yes,
Caitlin
do.
Tara Michaelis and my collaborator, Emily Bell, who is a research professor at Leeds. So thanks, guys, for showing.
No, it's lovely that they could join us, Beverly. And anytime, you know, just share the details with them. I think everybody who asked for details has received them and they've been able to log on properly. That problem we had at the birthday luncheon toast, I think was caused by me sending the access details on a Word document to some people. And they then had difficulty, didn't make the connections. And poor Jonathan was dashing up and downstairs trying to find a computer that would work. But really, I think it was Word's problem. So I think everybody's got their details today. And that's because I simply copied and pasted the invitation that Zoom provide for you. So I think that's one technical problem we've cracked. And I hope that my computer behaves itself, because I only heard half of the Treasurer's report in the AGM a fortnight ago, because my computer suddenly turned itself off.
Oh, no.
And, I don't know why. I've no idea why. And when I tried to get on again, I was refused entry to the Zoom meeting I was hosting. It was all a bit complicated. And we had
Maybe it felt that half was enough.
Well, you can say that, Brenda, but I couldn't possibly comment.
No.
But no, we're learning as we go along. Oh, here's Rosemary. We'll admit her, and then I think we'd better make a start. Kathy.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
You just tell me when.
I will. Yes, I will. Yeah. Well, I think that's pretty well everybody. If anybody else does come, I'll just let them enter without commenting, because it would be cutting across what Kathy has got to say. But well, welcome to everybody. That is really lovely. There are as many people taking part as there would be in a normal sort of meeting at Silverscote and Heritage Centre. I was there this morning and it looks really rather sad and miserable and in need of the life-giving things that happen when guests go into that building and it comes alive. But there we are. This is the next best thing. And we've certainly got Kathy, who had been booked, as many of you will be aware, we booked Kathy to come last year, but because of the pandemic, it all had to be postponed or cancelled. And so we've got her today. She's going to talk about her book. This is the paperback version that I hope you can see. Copies available from all good bookstores or from the George Eliot Fellowship. We've got copies if you're interested in buying them. This is the paperback edition. So there we are. It's a fascinating book. I've read it a couple of times, partly because I did a question and answer session with Kathy in the little Warwick bookshop in the marketplace in Warwick. Warwick Books, it's called. And of course, the place was packed, but there were about 30 people in there and they'd moved bookshelves and it was a lovely, cozy December evening. And we realize now, you know, for a year, we just haven't been able to have that sort of intimate, close, friendly meeting. And we're all dying for those days to come back. And Kathy spoke then, and she subsequently spoke to Warwick Words last autumn, and she's had various other speaking invitations, of course, on the strength of her book, which is it's a fabulous read. So I think without further ado then, Kathy, I'll ask you if you'd like to start, and perhaps there'll be time for some questions and discussion
there will
at
be.
the end.
Yeah.
So over to you, Kathy.
Okay, well, I just want to say how pleased I am to be here, albeit in a virtual way. And thank you so much for coming to hear me. And I'm really delighted to be talking to you. So I'm going to just begin by talking about how I came to be interested in writing about Eliot in the first place, and then I'll go on from there. Years ago, browsing an introduction to Eliot's essays, I came across a letter by William Hale White. The letter was written when Eliot had been dead 5 years, and the first biography had just been put together by Johnny Cross. As I had the honor of living in the same house with George Eliot for about 2 years, wrote Hale White, I may perhaps be allowed to correct an impression which Mr. Cross's book may produce on its readers. To put it briefly, I think he has made her too respectable. She was really one of the most skeptical, unusual creatures I ever knew, and it was this side of her character which was to me the most attractive. She told me that it was worthwhile to undertake all the labor of learning French if it resulted in nothing more than reading one book, Rousseau's Confessions. I can see her now, with her hair over her shoulders, the easy chair half sideways to the fire, her feet over the arms, and a proof in her hands, in that dark room at the back of number 42. This small paragraph did 2 things. It at once made me aware of how I saw Eliot, as in some way heavy and a bit stuffy, and it at once convinced me that this was the wrong picture. Here was this working journalist in number 142 Strand, the famous house where she edited the Westminster Review, the most progressive journal of the day. Ideas would have been going back and forth in those rooms, new, heady ideas. And those legs over the armchair had a whiff of unorthodox physical freedom to match, which was also intriguing. And then she revered Rousseau's Confessions, a book in which, for instance, the author confesses to experiencing sexual thrills when beaten as a child. In the space of minutes, a new Eliot had come into focus for me. Someone with an interest in the true, however strange, with a glint of modernity in her eye. Straight away, I wanted to write her biography, bring this Eliot to life. I wrote a proposal to my agent, set about reading an existing biography, beginning with Gordon Hates, and then abandoned the idea. I thought, this is so good, so comprehensive, I could have nothing to add. Still, the habit of reading biographies of her continued, and then I began to notice something else. Can I just ask, are you all hearing me okay? There's no sort of, okay.
Yeah.
Each time I got to the end of her life, I felt jarred. The story had gone to a weird place. It was the episode at the end of her life when the love of her life, Lewis, has died, and she falls in love with Johnny Cross, a financier 20 years younger. I couldn't make sense of it. Even more jarring, there was an unseemly episode on the honeymoon, the groom bolting from the hotel balcony into Venice's Grand Canal, which seemed all of a piece with the oddness of it. The episode so didn't fit with what had gone before, in fact, that my usual reaction when reading further biographies was to dispense with it by viewing it as an irrelevant coda to her story. At the same time, in the course of my reading, an aspect of it had sort of begun to amuse me and claim my attention, and that was Eliot's relationship with the public. It had a strikingly symmetrical shape. She had shocked the world by living unmarried with George Lewis. Then she shocked the world again, but this time by marrying Johnny Cross and in a church. In a beautiful irony, she was finally respectable, but at that same moment, she had knocked herself off her pedestal. And there was a something there about a woman who keeps not being what other people want her to be that interested me and gave me, in effect, the germ of my book. But this one would have to be a novel, I thought, because the crux, the climax of my book was going to be that mysterious, seemingly out of place episode at the end of Eliot's life. Through fiction, I would try and make sense of it and bring it to life, so that it wasn't a coda to be pushed under the carpet. It would be the place where I instinctively felt she was going to be pushed to the limit and had to face her own fallibility. In biographies, because of paucity of evidence, it is accounted for in a few pages. The very spareness of the documentation opened a space for novelistic inquiry. But having made the decision to write a novel, I was half disconcerted when I began reading her letters. For the most part, Eliot's life is richly documented, including 9 handsome volumes of her own letters. But as I read through them, I was tantalized. They were so expressive of her, so unique and interesting, that not to quote them directly seemed like growing a cherry tree and not eating the cherries. What could I do? I was writing a novel. I would necessarily be making up conversations, thoughts, feelings, because those I could never find on record, though often I could work out what kind of a conversational event might have taken place. But I also wanted my book to be an inquiry into her, an interpretation and recreation of her based on the closest possible reading of details of her life, of her letters, of everything I could find. So that even when the form of the novel required me to make up, say, meetings, rather than dramatize meetings I knew had actually happened, all such inventions would need completely to work with biographical facts to fit them accurately. So I made a rather controversial decision. In the end, with a nod to autofiction, which interests me very much, with its combination of real and invention, I decided to write a hybrid novel to include real quotations from her letters and diaries. They are wonderful bits of writing in their own right. They open a direct window onto her. I hoped that my book would engage the reader on a fictional level, would yield the satisfaction of fiction, and yet the reader could, I hope, have the thrill of knowing that here was her real voice too. Her jewels, as it were, would be embedded in my mosaic. There was a relationship to reality within the fiction. Then, for me, there was the question of my book's shape. After all, if my driving aim in writing this book was to understand the mysterious episode at the end of her life, why not start with Lewis's death? But I had several reasons to do otherwise. First, her own story of rising from scandalous outsider to celebrated genius had much to offer in the most obvious of ways. It was a great story, a real-life fairy tale. The fact that Adam Bede became so wildly famous when no one knew who the author was, that the moral visionary and creative genius was her, the scandalous woman, it was the stuff of pure romance. Most writers' lives are dull, people sitting at a desk. This was not. There was something else too. I had been struck by the way her story, in spite of the several splendid biographies by Gordon Haight, Catherine Hughes, Rosemary Ashton, and others, seemed to be so relatively, I've been struck by the way her story, seemed to be so relatively little known. It had not, it seemed, quite entered the public imagination in this country. I had talked to passionate fans of Middlemarch and Mill on the Floss, who still seemed strangely unaware of her very eventful life. I had bold hopes that my novel could perhaps remedy this, make her story sufficiently enjoyable and accessible, and livable in the way that only fiction can be, that it might perhaps become more known. But possibly more relevantly, I knew that neither I nor the reader could hope to understand the mystery of that last episode with Cross without understanding what had gone before, the terrific rise to stardom, stardom always having its own attendant perils. Then there was the dizzying matter of what to select, what to dramatise. When people think of a novel that is about someone who has lived, there is a temptation perhaps to view writing that novel as a simple conversion from biography to fiction. But of course, with both biography and fiction, there is a process of selection and construction. Particular narrative threads have to be formed or plucked out and shown. I wanted to show what it might have felt like for Eliot to be ostracized and condemned as immoral, to be lonely, to feel that respectable women might want to avoid her, to be cut off from her family, and of course, including her brother Isaac, and then to show that thrilling reversal of fortune, where she goes in 1859 from being unknown to claiming the name George Eliot as her own. And then it's the beginning of her extraordinary fame and the writing of Middlemarch. And I wanted there, I mean, I know I've skipped over a lot in her life, but anyway, I'm just talking, I had to pick out bits. So, and I wanted there very much to show the quite wild scale of her ambition, which helped beget the wonderful Middlemarch. Few experiences have been so thrilling to me as browsing through her Folger and Berg notebooks that she kept at the time of writing Middlemarch. And I did then try to impart my thrill to the reader when Lewis looks into those notebooks one night when he can't sleep and Thorny is dying. But back to before I began. I was about to start researching when I found out that 2 novels covering this period of Eliot's life already existed, and I was, to say the least, disconcerted. I duly looked at reviews of Denitia Smith's The Honeymoon, and having at first thought I would need to read it, even that it behoved me to read it, I decided against. It sounded as if its approach might be similar to what I was hatching, and I wanted very much to follow my own instincts and reactions to all that I read, and was afraid that if I read her book, I might be pushed in a direction that wasn't my own. I did, however, read the second novel, Terence DeVere White's, as I knew immediately this was a different kind of story. His novel highlighted, in witty if lurid colours, aspects of George Eliot's secret Achilles heel, her pride, for instance, and a certain solemnity that had comic potential if you wanted to go that way. But I didn't want to go that way, as comedy can be reductive, and I was moved by Eliot's struggle rather than amused. Now, the most difficult part of my research concerned that elusive last part of Eliot's life. And at the beginning of his book, DeVere White thanks an Elizabeth Hall for letting him see her family letters. And I tried to get hold of those family letters in every way I could, including getting a proxy researcher in Boston to look through the late DeVere White's papers. I kept feeling there might be new evidence that would turn up that had escaped mainstream research. To this end, I made the trip to the biographer Ina Taylor in Shropshire because her biography claimed that Eliot had proposed to Johnny Cross, not the other way around. The claim turned out to be based on conversations with a Cross descendant who had since died. Did she have a written record of the conversation? No. I also went to see another descendant of Johnny Cross who I'd found on a genealogical site. She showed me her faded photograph of Cross in later life, with a beard, looking rather like Lytton Strachey, legs stretched out in a deck chair, but I learnt nothing of use. There were dark whispers floating down the ears about Eliot as dominating, that was all. I gave up expecting to find anything new and looked again at the bare biographical facts. Johnny Cross met the Lewises in 1869 with his mother, Anna Cross, just when Eliot was mulling Middlemarch. The 2 families quickly became great friends, but Johnny Cross was soon becoming their particular friend. A picture of Cross's role in their life, though shadowy, began to emerge. Eliot and Lewis kept a famous Sunday salon, and Lewis always recorded the cast of visitors, very illustrious usually, in his diary. Soon the name J. Cross, in Lewis's inked italics, starts to recur with unfailing regularity. Another thing was becoming clear, that J. Cross was determined to be helpful. By 1872, he was not just a constant guest at the salon, He had become the Lewis's financial manager, successfully dealing with their investments. And more than that, he had become their go-to practical friend. They wanted to find a country house as they became more wealthy. It was Johnny who was always looking for them and sending them notifications of places for sale. When they wanted to buy a coach, Johnny was on hand, sending his own coachman to be consulted with. Eliot and Lewis began calling him nephew. By being so trustworthily useful and such a close family friend as well, he began to occupy a special favoured position with the couple. In 1876, when Johnny finally finds a country house for them, it is somehow no surprise to learn that the house he found in Whitley is only 15 miles away from Johnny's own residence, the Cross establishment in Weybridge. When they move in, Johnny characteristically brings a gift, in this case a tennis set. Both Lewis and Eliot often write to Johnny. In different ways, their letters are revealing. Lewis's letters to Johnny are affectionate, but there's a hint of untoward freedom too, almost of a master addressing a servant who has no need to dress up his demands, indicating that Johnny's helpfulness, friendly willingness was, as it were, unconditional. Whitley Cross is more ravishing than we fancied it, writes Lewis. We don't grumble at anything, but stroll about our property and say, how lovely. Lewis goes on seamlessly to say, we find the commissariat a difficulty. Grocer only calls once a fortnight, and our fishmonger. By the way, would you kindly look in as you pass on the fishmonger at the Waterloo station and ask him on what terms he will supply us regularly with whatever may be, italics, fish of the day on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Tell him we are but two and therefore want ordinarily but a small dish, and we will let him know the day before when we want something extra for visitors. If he can send them to the station by the first train, our coachman will bring them up. I had a sense that Cross was so obliging. He would do anything they asked him to do, and perhaps more importantly, never reflect back anything problematic to them. Significantly, in a moment of family tragedy, when Lewis's neglected second son, Bertie, dies, it's Johnny to whom Marion writes, a very unusual, self-absolving letter. By and large, the couple told no one about Bertie's death, as it was so painful for Lewis, and unacknowledged guilt was floating around. But Johnny was the safe port of call. And then I began to read shadowy intention into Johnny's assiduousness, a quiet determination to enter the stellar celebrity lives of the Lewises. One of those people who would not so much make his own life as find a place in the pocket of others, and who was compelled, captivated by Lewis and Eliot. I wondered too if there had been a certain latent quality in his recurring presence. When he travels abroad, he brings Eliot gifts. Eliot's letters to him while Lewis is alive are robustly, humorously aunt to his nephew, but they can be playful to the point of flirtatious. This latent quality was for me curiously confirmed by Edith Simcox. Edith Simcox was the highly educated younger writer and social activist who was madly in love with Eliot and kept a diary of her passionate, obsessive feelings. A powerful streak of jealousy runs through the diary. Yet she identifies her rival not as Marion's husband, Lewis, but as Johnny, the quasi-son, the nephew, the tall, handsome, younger, intimate family friend. Lewis died at the end of November 1878. Sympathy poured out to the gloriously famous widow. The whole of Europe mourns with you, wrote Turgenev. She didn't go to the funeral. For a week, she didn't leave the room in which Lewis had died. It's a bitterly cold winter. The pipes are frozen. Eliot's grief seems unbearable and profound. The few diary entries that there are attest to it, and her awful hysterical crying is heard by the servants. In the spring, she slowly begins to engage with life again, but still seeing no one except servants and her stepson Charles. The pivotal moment comes in April, when, panicked by requests for money, she turns to Johnny Cross, nephew and financial manager and friend. for help. Cross, as we know, wrote her official life after her death, sewing together her letter with bits of linking text. From that moment, he says demurely in the life, we saw each other constantly. The mysterious latent quality identified by Edith Simcox has ceased to be latent. They psychologically fit each other. What they have in common is bereavement. Marion's partner, Lewis, and Johnny's mother have died within 9 days of each other. The grieving pair agree to read Dante together. Soon the romance begins. And this is the new story in Eliot's life, of how Eliot, who loved Lewis so much for 24 years, who went so famously through fire for him, who was so distraught when he died, began within months to fall in love with someone else. It is a romance. It is perhaps in part a betrayal of Lewis and herself, and it is above all a psychological drama. There are 4 relevant questions here, it seems to me. 1, what made this moment such a fraught interior drama for Eliot herself, so pressurizing that she could not confide her feelings into a single friend? 2, what happened on the honeymoon with Johnny that he went mad and made a big bid for suicide? 3, what happened between them, Johnny and Eliot, in private? And fourthly, what does this event tell us about Eliot? When recounting the episode, it seems to me that biographers variously champion this new love of Eliot's and explain it to a degree, explain it away. But what interests the novelist here? It is the human flaw. The thing that biographers wish to neutralize, recounting it quickly, explaining it away, putting it to one side, is the very thing the novelist wishes to explore. The human flaw seems to me visible here. Possibilities crowd upon the picture of Eliot, alighting like great black birds. The speedy moving on suggests haste, greed, disloyalty. It raises instant questions about the nature of her bond with Lewis. Was it really as profound a connection as it appeared? Is there something cheap in the speed of this emotional transfer? Is her emotional currency cheaper than we thought? Are the emotions of Mrs. Lewis, of George Eliot, as authentic and wise as we thought? Does George Eliot have true moral beauty? Does the saint have feet of clay? It is these blackbirds, I think, that filled Eliot with such absolute panic. Her inner self and truth, that had been writ so large for the public in her books, was at stake for her. Panic is written in her secrecy, in the fact that when preparing for the honeymoon that was only weeks away, Cross was forbidden by Eliot to tell his business partner of his impending marriage and the impending protracted absence. Panic is written in the fact that she couldn't even bear to tell her stepson, Charles Lewis, the most unfrightening, unjudging person imaginable, about the marriage. She asked Johnny to do so in the end. As for her extremely close women friends, she couldn't tell them either. She left letters for them in an eerie, upside-down echo of her elopement with Lewis 25 years before. Except for Cross's immediate family, who were told in the month preceding the wedding that they were to attend, nobody was to know until Eliot and Cross were on the other side of the channel and were safely on the honeymoon. The human flaw, this fallibility that showed itself in the last act of Eliot's life, to my way of thinking, is of course the common engine of fiction and always interesting. What makes Dorothea step into a marriage with, of all people, Casaubon? What makes Hetty Sorrel accept the advances of Arthur Donnithorne? Why does Maggie step into the boat with Stephen Guest? Why does Gwendolen marry Grandcourt? In all these predicaments, certain desires rode high and filled the protagonist's mind to the exclusion of other things. And I believe that in her own life now, Eliot found herself in a situation as difficult as nearly any of her heroines. An almost uncanny mirroring seemed to be going on between her life and her art. She stuck, say, like Maggie Tulliver. In Mill and the Floss, at the end, Eliot, I think, had written herself into a corner. Unlike many others, I'm convinced by the coupling of Maggie and Stephen Guest. Guest is the fiancé of her pretty, but also a masterstroke of Eliot's here, genuinely sweet and generous-tempered cousin Lucy. The romance is a betrayal of Lucy on every level. But where can Eliot take Maggie? For all her fabulous psychological realism, Eliot couldn't bear for Mary to lose that sense of being morally loved by the reader, that sense of being ultimately morally beautiful, just as she, Eliot, couldn't bear not to be morally loved. I believe she felt accurately the romance with Cross to be anti-romantic in the eyes of others and to take away some of the shine of her icon. She could no longer be seen as ideal. The solution with Maggie was to kill her off, but what about herself? If she was to marry Cross, she would need just the kind of understanding her own novels provided. And she did not trust even her very closest, most intimate and loving women friends not to judge her in this instance, as her letters attest. All drama is based on conflict, and the more I understood this part of her life, the more I came to feel it could justly feature as the climactic part of my novel. To marry Cross meant being horribly readjusted in people's minds. Oh, I think I'm doing something with the word. Giving up that sweet spot, that moral beauty. At the same time, she couldn't bear to give him up. By this stage in her life, Eliot was phenomenally famous. Out at a concert, her cheek might be kissed by a stranger. The hem of her dress might be touched. She aroused extreme feeling, almost worship in people. In their famous Sunday salon, carefully orchestrated by Lewis, people took turns to sit beside the great author and talk privately with her. As Frederick Meyer said of her in this situation, Eliot showed, quote, an almost pathetic anxiety to give of her best, to utter words which should remain an active influence for good. When the positivists wanted a new creed, they asked Eliot to give them the words. She had almost holy status, and her work aroused extraordinary reactions everywhere, partly because of her dramatic genius, but also because of her voice, which conveyed compassion and understanding to a deep, high, strangely personal degree. For this woman to have feet of clay was always going to be difficult. My own sense of her is that she did fall in love with Cross, that at some point she must have given herself permission, as it were, to do so, that her desire to be loved and to love came first, to the exclusion of much else, as it had always done. Thus, Eliot fell in love with Dr. Brabant, I'm sure I'm pronouncing him wrong, in spite of the fact that the latter's blind wife was present in the house also. Ditto Herbert Spencer, irresistibly pompous, albeit super gifted man that he was. Ditto John Chapman, when the latter's wife and mistress were in the same house. Eliot's desires, when they came, and I certainly don't just mean sexual desires, were overriding, obdurate. But here, at the end of her life, they had pushed her into a truly desperate and testing situation. She now knew from the inside what it was like to be split by desire and fear equally. It can't even be compared to before, when she was in love with Lewis and he couldn't get a divorce. There, in spite of the social obstacles, she had moral beauty, as it were, on her side. Here, she didn't exactly have the same. If anything, the moral beauty, to persist with this phrase, might have held her back. But I would just like to say, for the record, that I felt for her, and I wanted my reader to be able to feel for her. Eliot sets the example par excellence in this respect. As author, she always wanted the reader to feel for and with her heroines, that we should understand rather than judge. This was, of course, her great moral aim in writing fiction, that judgment and condemnation give way to tolerance and empathy, brought about not by ideas, but by the lived experience that fiction, in its strange proxy way, affords. There are multiple accounts of Eliot's personally charismatic power, of her fascinatingly tender, ugly beauty. She captivated people, enthralled them with her charm. Edith Simcox was captive to her charms, obsessed, passionate, prone to visiting. And then, when Eliot begged her leave, because Johnny was there, returned through Kensington Gardens and weep under a tree. Maria Congreve also loved Eliot, was in love with her, as she later confided into Simcox. She too, in Simcox's words, loved Simcox's darling, quote, lover-wise. I saw Johnny as a natural supplicant, and the account that emerges of the marriage is very much an account where the power is Eliot's. In biographies, the crazed leap from a balcony by Cross into the Venetian Grand Canal from 2 stories high comes like a bolt from the blue. But in fact, looking at the letters, one can see fragments of a different evolution. The letters begin by striking a note of really fresh, liberated happiness on the honeymoon. Gradually, however, a certain strain begins to show in Johnny's hand. Eliot was the commanding spirit behind their itinerary on the honeymoon, large amounts of sightseeing in churches, often staying at hotels she stayed at with Lewis, evenings that echoed the evenings with Lewis, involving quantities of reading. She was instructor, guide, she had the power. But the great event, Cross writes from the honeymoon to Eliot acolyte Elmer Stewart, that has happened in my life seems to have taken away from me all power of doing or thinking of anything except how marvelously blessed is my lot to be united for life with her who has for so long been my ideal. It is almost too great happiness to have got the best. On one level, this reads like a perfectly normal letter. Looking at it again, it doesn't quite. Language, with its multifaceted capability, is doing 2 things at once. On the one hand, Johnny's words are performing socially with the lover's extravagant rhetoric. On the other hand, he is stating with peculiar literalness that he is losing his agency. He has lost all power of doing. He has lost all power of thinking. He is losing his affect. Is this a clue to the nature of his madness? He can only think how marvelously blessed is his lot. More specifically, it is almost too great happiness to have got the best, he writes. The words can be parsed for their Freudian meaning as a description of Oedipal overreaching. In terms of that reading, he has married his mother and possibly had sex with her. It is too great a happiness, and he did take leave of his senses and try to die. I came to see Eliot's power as her Achilles' heel. She had risen gloriously into it, but the eminence had its hubristic danger. No one is really an ideal. She did have her human flaw, vulnerability, obdurate drives that were pressing, need for love, desire for love, perhaps to the exclusion of most other things. Pride, perhaps, a touch of omnipotence, egotism, surely. Psychologically, emotionally, Johnny Cross was a rabbit caught in her more powerful headlights, willing to be anything for her, as he was willing to do anything for her and Lewis. In his madness, he was, I thought, fighting back.
Right. I'll unmute or ask everybody to unmute so that we can have some discussion. Thank you, Kathy. That's fascinating.
She's still my heroine, I want to say.
Oh, of course, yes. Yeah. I remember thinking when I read the first time, when she and Cross kiss for the first time, that piece of writing I thought was erotically very charged. I thought it was a superb bit of writing because you could say, well, it's only a kiss, but actually within it, I felt the whole a large part of the relationship turned on that that you describe.
In the summer house, is that?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it's interesting. I don't know whether your research went into anything about Cross's life after.
Yes, it did a bit. It did a bit indeed. Oh, I didn't put that in. I mean, well, yeah, because I guess I should have put that in. That for 44, you know, he lived till 1924.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So 44 years, and there was never a sight of another woman. It's possible the doctor in Venice advised him never to have sex or something. One doesn't know.
No.
Or he might have been gay, or not. You know,
Yeah.
we tend to always nowadays read things. Someone, I guess now there's so many on the spectrum.
Yeah.
So it has all changed in terms of the way we read that. But yeah, one doesn't know. One can't really know.
No.
But we do know he was close to his mother, and we do know the timing of his mother's death was very close to
Very
Lewis.
close to Lewis's as well, wasn't it?
And she was older, and she would have looked a lot older.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he seemed, I mean, he just seems to have disappeared. And when they were setting up the centenary in 1919, the authorities sort of forgot. I think they forgot he was alive, but they forgot to invite him until the last minute.
Oh. He comes over as very charming, very modest, very courteous. And there's one really funny letter that I sort of wanted to get into my book, but couldn't. When he's asked to give a talk about Eliot, and he refuses, as modest as ever. And then he says something about, he makes a joke about when advising a young couple to get married, don't. It's a joke that it's impossible not to sort of link that. Anyway.
Right. Well, I think everybody should be unmuted now, or you can unmute yourselves. I'm sure people will have questions they'd like to ask or discussion points with Kathy. Yes, Jonathan.
Thank you very much for that. I thought that was really, really fascinating. I've always liked to think for reasons of family piety. George Eliot obviously was so much in love with George Henry Lewis.
I think he was. She was.
She couldn't really have been in love with Johnny Cross. She was used to having someone after her, and she needed someone to go on doing that. And I've always sort of taken the view that it was, in a way, it was an excuse to get another manager that she married him. And she was very intense on the need to think that a relationship which wasn't actually a legal relationship was a real relationship, so that she was Mrs. Lewis.
Yes, that's...
Johnny Cross was, in that sense, he was her nephew. And it seems extraordinary that the aunt should actually have wanted to marry the nephew. I don't know what you think about that.
Well, I think you said earlier that she might have just wanted someone to be around and be there. The thing is, there's a letter. There's very little, but there are nevertheless very significant things. So there's that letter in October 1879. It's an incredibly charged letter that she writes from Beatrice. I got it in my book because it's just, because Rosemary Bodenheimer, who's such a wonderful critic, she has this theory that Johnny Cross was sort of hauled in almost to just really manage everything, you know, manage the money, just make life possible in that way, in the practical way. But the thing is, you look at that letter, it couldn't be feigned. You know, it's so charged. She says something about the sun looks so cold when there are no eyes of love. It's very moving. And so I don't think she kind of had at all the same relationship as she had with Lewis, which I do think it's the best marriage I've ever read about. It really is on every level. I just was so enchanted by them together. But I think she did have something with this guy, and then I think he had terrible problems. And my one of my huge sources here was Edith Simcox, because Edith Simcox was so beadily determined to find out absolutely everything. She'd rush around to the Cross sisters, you know, and sort of wheedle out bits of information. And so you get all these extra things. And then through, I think it's in her diary that I then hear, I found out that he'd had his episodes of mental disturbance before, a history that she didn't know about. And then also, in fact, the De Vere White novel, Terence De Vere White's novel, although I never did track down that tantalizing body of letters that he refers to at the start, there's some things he put in there that were the fruit of some information that I didn't find anywhere else, that was also interesting, about previous girlfriends that hadn't been very strong of Johnny Cross's, where the mother and sisters said, hey, come on, she's not so good, get rid of her, and things like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry if I've gone.
Oh, thank you.
Anybody else questions for Kathy?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Kathy, what was your opinion of George Henry Lewis prior to researching your novel? Because I think when I read your novel, I genuinely felt so sorry for him.
Yeah.
How, you know, he must have been on tenterhooks, and I don't know if that had anything to do, you know, with his ill health and his death. But I don't know, because I think originally I used to think his reasons for encouraging George Eliot to write were selfish, to raise money for his children. But then, having read the novel, I really felt sorry for him, and I felt sorry for Johnny Cross as well, because I felt he was carrying on all the responsibilities that George Henry Lewis had.
So you felt sorry for Lewis?
Yes, when I read your novel, because of all the having to be on tender hooks and, you know.
Oh, what, look after her so much?
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. But I think he had I think he was just by nature very kind of one of those lucky, happy natures. That's how he comes across to me. His letters are so spontaneous, and he says at one point about Eliot, to love her was to know her. You know, it's a typical Lewis sentence, just lovely, thrown away. But
so do we know if he'd ever tried his hand at fiction? Because
yes, he wrote a novel, at least one novel, and I think it wasn't great. But he was a very, very, as you probably know, esteemed critic, and he championed Charlotte Bronte, and so she had a great reader in him as well.
What was the novel that Terence De Vere White wrote? You know, did you say the title?
Yeah, you know, I didn't, and I can't this second, but I can.
I'll Google his name. It'll
come up. Yeah, Terence De Vere. I think. Yeah, no, I can't remember. It might be something like the last year of. It's funny. It's an outright funny book. It isn't. I mean, George Eliot lovers won't necessarily love it, I have to say.
Yeah, I remember reading the passage that you read at the beginning by William Hale White. I think that just conjures up a wonderful image of her, and it was quite moving to hear you saying it, because I actually read it at the grave in the bicentenary year, and yeah, it's a wonderful passage.
I'm glad you think so. I do too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the image of her with her legs over the chair, and
yeah, it's so evocative.
Yeah.
It's true.
Thank you.
Tagging along. Am I on?
Sorry. Hello.
Hello.
This is Saul.
Hello.
Oh, hello, Saul. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just tagging along on something that Jonathan said earlier about impropriety. Seems to me Somerset Maugham said impropriety is the soul of wit, and that pretty much applies to Our Lady, Marianne.
Oh, well, jolly good. Yeah.
Yeah, Shoshana, you're that.
Okay. Yes. Well, I enjoyed the book very much. And one of the things that you did that I thought was wonderful was the way that you kept telling us about her sensitivity to criticism. Okay. Just,
Yeah.
and it was funny and also sad that she would have a visit and then she would write a letter immediately trying to correct whatever wrong impression she thought she might have given or that people might have been hurt and so on. And so that was a theme all the way through, which of course is something that George Henry Lewis talked about. And I think that what was so tragic is that during whatever happened on the honeymoon, you have Johnny saying critical things to her, which is the last thing that she wants, the last thing she would have expected from him, because all the way before he was trying to present such a positive view and that he was the one person from whom she would not hear criticism.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so that was that. Yeah, Terence DeVere White's book is called Johnny Cross, or at least that's the title of the copy I have. And I didn't think he liked George Eliot.
No, he didn't. I don't.
Yeah,
think.
yeah. Which,
yeah.
well, I think we do. So
yeah, I know that's true. It's funny, that isn't it? I mean, she's so. I was talking to someone else who's working on a book about George Eliot, and she said how sort of absorbed and involved she's getting, and I totally understood. It's sort of overwhelming because there's so many facets to her, and yeah,
well,
but that's interesting. I'd not thought of that before. You mean when Cross is going mad and criticizing her? Yeah, true. I mean, that I just had to, that I don't know the substance of how it took, and that was in, you know, I just had to go with it, something that felt like it might be true, but yeah.
Yeah, but it was so hurtful. I mean, I almost felt it for myself. But, he's saying those terrible things to her, and then of course later afterwards he's tearing up pages and not including them in the life, which for us who are interested in every scrap.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you. It's a gift.
Thank you.
Kathy, I enjoyed your talk very much. This is Dot from
Hello.
Cape Cod in America.
Cape Cod. Oh, how wonderful. Yeah.
I can't wait to read your book.
Oh, good.
One of the things that Lewis did was to keep those critical articles away from her. Remember that it was important to him that she not see those criticisms. The other thing I want to mention is I think George Eliot was a practical person. And we know how hurtful it was that she was estranged from her brother. And of course, one of the wonderful pluses from her marrying Johnny Cross was that she was reunited with the brother. That was a very happy occasion for her. So I did just want to mention that.
Yeah. Yeah. What a drama. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think her life was just as fascinating as all her wonderful books.
Well, it's very amazing, isn't it? It really is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's surprising how many people actually, particularly I think we found this in the Nuneaton and Coventry area, people are fascinated to hear about her extraordinary life. And they go from that to reading the novels. Kathleen Adams was, who sort of ran the fellowship for 40 years, admitted quite freely that she found the details of this woman who had lived part of her life in Coventry, and Kathleen was a very keen Coventrian, and she found that so interesting that she then started reading the novels. And of course, you get another, well, it takes over your life, really, doesn't it?
Hi, this is Susan from Stanford, California. I've just
Hello,
ordered your book.
Susan.
Good morning, everyone. And I'm just curious about, has much been written about the experience they had reading Dante together as they did their joint bereavement? I'm just really curious about that. Thank you.
Say that again.
You mentioned that they read Dante.
Yeah.
Sharing their bereavement. Has much been written about that particular time of their lives?
No, you see, there isn't much documentary evidence. There are sort of bits and bobs if you really scrape around. And there's something that the fellowship put out, the John Bunny letters, and that's an interesting resource for that period. But the actual reading of Dante, no, you see, I think that's when the bud of the romance began. And but what you get is you might get a letter to Blackwood with her saying, I'm again finding interest in this wonderful life of ours, and something like that. So judging then you gather that a proposal has taken place 3 months later. So you have to sort of join the dots, really. But I don't think she was talking. I don't think she was writing anywhere, and her diaries reveal incredibly little. They're just the bits of words, or I mean, there's a few words often. So no, I couldn't find more. I'm just gonna I think my computer's in danger of going to sleep. Just gonna get that.
Jacques Donada, where are you? Are you still with us?
Yes, I'm still
Yeah.
here.
Oh, hello.
Hello,
Lovely to see
everybody.
you.
Just keeping the microphone on mute because my background is a little bit noisy and I don't want to cause any trouble.
That's all right.
But no, it's been lovely, and I know this online thing is rather upsetting on the one hand, but also very interesting on the other hand. But it's very nice for me because I can join. That means that I can join from overseas.
It's lovely.
That's great.
It is.
You asked a question in the chat bit, Jack, about wasn't the BBC filming a life of George Eliot, and they did.
Or an adaptation of one of the novels or something like
well,
that.
The BBC did a very interesting 1-hour program that went out in November 2019, and it was directed by
Gillian Waring.
Yes. Gillian Waring, yes, that's right. Who had won the Turner Prize in 1997, and she was really interesting, and it was a fascinating experience to be part of. And we spent about 3 days, and you were on screen for about 5 seconds. You know, it's that sort of exchange.
Yes.
But it was really interesting for all of us who observed it. And I don't know whether that's available for you, Jack, that you might be able to pick up. It was available
maybe on
iPlayer.
It was on iPlayer for a while. I'm not sure whether it still is.
John.
Sorry?
You might even get
Everything's connected.
You might even get it on YouTube or something.
Yeah, it might be on YouTube. I'm not sure, but it's well worth watching.
Yeah, I must watch it. I'm ashamed to say I haven't. I should.
Awesome. I'm going to look for it. And I honestly don't know what's up with the BBC. Why aren't they doing a lot of George Eliot?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah,
I must. Yeah. Yes.
But well, thank you for that information. I'm going to certainly to look for it, and I hope something else is coming up. There's so much interesting much interesting material that the BBC could use.
There is, yeah. There is a project, Jack, which you might be interested in. I don't know much of the detail yet. Beverly knows a bit about it as well, but the De Montfort University in Leicester, they own the Andrew Davis archive. And Andrew Davis, amongst many other things, did the adaptation of Middlemarch for the BBC.
Right.
And they're doing some sort of a digital reinterpretation of it. Do you know any more about it, Bev, than that?
I haven't heard if they won the grant yet, but I'm part of it, and I'm going to host it on the George Eliot Scholars site.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Lovely. Yes.
And analyze it and sort of be their test audience.
Yeah. That could be a really interesting thing. And the man who's running it at Leicester has joined the fellowship, so he'll keep us informed, I'm sure. And obviously, in turn, I'll let our members know. But that could be interesting, and I'm sure there will be lots of other things to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Middlemarch. It's the pandemic has put a halt on most of this year, I think. But City of Culture in Coventry, of course, we're trying to persuade them of the importance of George Eliot in Coventry, but it doesn't tick the right boxes for City of Culture. I mean, that's a bit unfair. It ticks some of the boxes, and things will definitely be happening that we will want to be part of. So, yeah, I mean, I think the bicentenary for us as a fellowship was terrific, and we achieved a huge amount. And the Middlemarch celebrations will allow us, I think, to get the momentum back for that interest everywhere in George Eliot. And hopefully we'll have a visitor centre by then. Don't get me started on that.
But John, so do you know when the Middlemarch celebrations will be?
Well, the City of Culture was delayed, and I think it's now starting on about July the 1st. And we'll go, I think, through to the end of next year pretty well.
Right.
And we'll certainly within the fellowship be spending this year and next year, you know, with Middlemarch as the major theme.
Yeah. I just want to mention that Andrew Davis was for a while interested in doing my book, actually.
Really?
Yeah, he was. And I know his company made inquiries with my agent, but I imagine they just, I don't know, you know, anyway, he really liked it and said he was going to try. But I was very pleased. But alas, at the moment, nothing's come of it. But
that would be wonderful.
So
I mean,
great, yeah. But
he's a great lover of Eliot, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. He hasn't given us any money for the visitor centre, but never mind.
I'll work on him, John.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I have a question, or actually, Kathy, one of the things I wanted to say, what is that?
Right. Was that you asking the question, Bev?
I was going to ask a question.
Yeah,
now.
go on.
Oh, yes, ask.
Music.
My name is George Eliot. Hello.
Oh,
I'm George
shoot.
Eliot.
Okay, that may be me. That may be me. Hold on a sec. Sorry, guys.
Oh.
Sorry about that. Accidentally.
You've stunned us all into silence, Bev.
Okay, I wanted to just say, Kathy, I really appreciated that your novel was the only one that I've read that has touched on George Eliot's romantic friendships with women. And that's a topic that I have been working on, her relationship.
Oh, really? How interesting.
Maria Lewis and Sarah Hennell and Maria Congreve,
Yeah.
Stewart, Georgiana, Bernie Jones, and Edith Simcox. And although she rejected Edith's overt advances, she seems to have not rejected Maria Lewis's or Maria Congreve's.
What you mean, like sort of actually not?
Well, I just noticed that in your.
Oh, I see. When they have that near. Yes, it's funny. I hardly knew where that came from. I mean, I think that she loved intimacy because she saw so much. She was so perceptive about people. She could tell people such helpful. She could kind of let them bare their souls and then console them so wonderfully. So I think intimacy was sort of meat and drink to her, and especially in her ostracized state, you know, that to feel good like that would have mattered to her, I think. And and then with women, there's often a more intimate kind of talking, isn't there, that makes a different thing possible, which I always think is very interesting, actually. Yeah, well, how interesting. So are you writing a book about the women?
Well, I'm writing a biography on George Eliot and George Henry Lewis, and I have been working on it for a long time. But the focus has always been on her relationships with men. And what's really fascinating is that not as much has been written about her relationships with women. And her kiss with Edith Simcox right before she says that she's always preferred men. It's a very interesting physical moment. And so that's something that I focus on. But I just wonder what your thoughts were on whether it was possible that George Eliot's very intense friendships were possibly indicative of bisexuality.
Yeah, I mean, you know, these categories are interesting. I'm wary of applying them anachronistically, I suppose. I certainly, she had these powerfully close relationships with women. I don't think they were, I've never got the impression that they actually were sexual. Nowadays, it might be seen as sort of almost pre-sexual, you know, a friendship so intense that some erotic component is implied. What's happening? Am I hearing the only one hearing voices?
John, can you ask people to mute if they're not actually speaking?
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's my sister. I think carers have come into her room.
Yeah.
I think if you have everyone on mute, and then we can unmute ourselves as we speak, John.
Yeah, would that be better?
Okay, but Bev, I just wanted to say, that fascinating moment when she says to Simcox, "I've always preferred men." I thought in a way she was almost in a state of self-disgust. I don't know, what did I think she was doing? She's about to go away with Cross, and I think she wanted to put a distance between herself and Simcox at that point. And I think she knew it would. She really wanted to puncture Simcox's, because Simcox is a bit crazy. I mean, sometimes she'll write in her diary, I mean to woo her furiously. I think of all these, well, you would know, I will think of all these new ways of making love to her, as if there's some successful wooing taking place, but there wasn't actually. And no one knew better than Simcox how happy Lewis and Eliot were. She's also a wonderful close-up record of that, isn't she? She sees Lewis kissing Eliot's hand, and also after Lewis has died, Eliot confides to her that they were a sort of egoism à deux. Anyway, so yeah, I guess I thought that was almost her wishing to puncture a balloon of unreality that is a part of Simcox. But I have to say, I also felt for Simcox. I think she's fascinating too. It really intrigued me the way this whole intense life, the way you stumbled on it so by chance because of a woman's hour in the next century, about 1950, you know, the randomness, the accident of it, this woman having found that passionately written diary in her house. It was all very interesting.
Mm.
Well, I feel that Haight and was it Mackenzie? I've forgotten the name. Were really reluctant, very reluctant to consider Simcox as anything but crazy, and so I've been looking at her in a new.
Yeah. No, and I wouldn't say she was crazy. I think she's really interesting, and her social activism was absolutely sincere and great, and yeah. She's a person in her own right, I think, isn't she, to reckon with.
I hear Eliot being described as both asexual, possibly, or bisexual, possibly, and otherwise, possibly. But I find that from reading her, the warmth that she exudes from her novels, from her fiction, tells me that she was not asexual.
No, I agree with you. Yeah.
I just want to say thank you. I enjoyed very much today's talk and also the book. And I think the title is very meaningful, In Love with George Eliot. The book left me feeling desperately sad for George Eliot, because everybody loves her, and we do today, but we all want to love her in our own way. So she had to fit into lots of different styles for different people. I think the love that she had with George was genuine. But, you know, like her father and her brother and all these people that want to love her in their way, and they don't accept her for what she actually is. So I felt her heart broken at the end, I have to say, that I don't think she deserved the end of her life. She was much better than that.
But wait, but so you saw that as a sad ending? What, because of the problems with Cross that had happened?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I think like Simcox, they want George Eliot to love them in their way.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, it's true. It's a good point. Yeah.
You know,
a good point.
And actually, she was just a very giving, emotional kind of person with loads of love to give. And I think she loved everybody to love her.
Yeah, I think that's true. That's why I think it was so hard, the thing with Cross. But what it does point to as well is that her determined, because the thing about Eliot is she does get what she wants, you know, which is great. But she does, you know, I mean, to the courage of defying society the way she did with Lewis in the first place is extraordinary.
Yes.
It is extraordinary, but she had it. I mean, I know I say in my talk about the moral beauty, and she did have the high ground, so to speak, but even so, a lot of people, you think about now how devastating it is when the tide of public opinion suddenly tars someone. You know, maybe they touched a breast or did something wrong, as it were, but not maybe that wrong. I mean, I'm not meaning to be condoning anything, but all I'm saying is that public judgments are harsh, and she rode right in the face of that. And here she rode right in the face of her own terror, I think, with Cross. But again, she wasn't going to be stopped. She did want it, and she was going to get it.
Amazing.
Yeah, no, she's amazing. She's continually amazing, and I love her thoughtfulness, and I love the fact that she holds to what she feels, because after all, she and Cross weren't hurting anybody.
No, absolutely.
So
and her relationship with George Henry Lewis. I mean, I think it's wonderful to realize that she had all those many years, because I agree with what you said, Kathy. I think that is one of the most beautiful, beautiful unions that we ever could know about. They helped each other. They adored each other. They respected each other. Anyway, I think it's nice.
I agree.
Yeah, it's nice to dwell on the fact that she certainly had those happy years with him.
Yeah, when I was writing my book, I would turn to my husband and say, why aren't you like Lewis? Because, you know, anyway, I just wanted him to be super encouraging. Plus, I must say, I was very jealous of their reading evenings. I just think they sound fantastic.
And the walks they took together.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah. I was just going to say, we know that he encouraged her to write. You know, he almost dared her, and when she did those scenes from Clerical Life, he was able to analyze the reviews that she'd been writing, and he felt that she could do fiction. And if it wasn't for him, and he definitely did operate as the first author's representative. He certainly was the one that handled all the relationships with the publisher. It's a beautiful. Their lives together are just beautiful.
I think so too. Apparently there's a recent article out that represents Lewis as controlling, though. Someone mentioned it to me. I don't know if anyone.
Well, if he was, I think she wanted him to. I think he took care of the
I agree.
Yeah.
I quite agree. I love that letter he sends to Sarah Hennell. It's so funny, you know, when some of Sarah Hennell's a little criticism has come through, and he writes to her secretly, sort of saying, listen, I have to keep all this out of her sight because she would not write anything, you know, if she read it. And
I don't think in this present day George Eliot would do very well with Facebook or social media.
There are a lot of things about today that I don't think she.
But then she's a good icon for women today and young girls to just to go and just do what you want and not be defined, you know.
Absolutely.
So did we talk about her female friends? Do you think the relation that she had with Elmer Stewart was different to the other one?
Well, it's Maria? Interesting, isn't it? Yeah, it does.
I think it was different. I don't think it was. I don't think Elmer Stewart loved her in that way, but
she adored her, and she called her mother, and she's buried beside her, and she carved those amazing things for her. And I think that love was meat and drink to Eliot, really, wasn't it? It's just And so here was this woman with the son, and I think it does seem a bit distinct from the others, maybe more like almost a child or something. Amazing that she is actually buried next to her.
I disagree with Juliet about George Eliot being uncomfortable with this format. I think she'd be right at home here. Her charm, we forget.
I think I just meant it was the criticism, you know, how she would be perceived, like we've mentioned before about sending letters out after meetings to sort of to correct what she'd said, and so nobody thought badly of her. I think she would find it uncomfortable on Facebook and social media that what she wrote would be perceived in a different way.
George Henry Lewis would have kept her off of Facebook.
Sure.
He would have set up a fake account with her picture, and he would be.
I think she'd be happier on Zoom, though.
Yeah, I agree.
Anybody else got comments or questions? It's been a fascinating afternoon and some really interesting discussion points as well.
Good. I just want to say, when I was writing my thing, I think that the whole cross thing raises an interesting, very interesting thing with Eliot, because I think it does slightly mar. Everything's been so perfect until then, and it mars something, but I don't think it does. Obviously, you know, she's so great, she can take it, but I think it's the fact is that no one is, you know, people aren't machines, and they just do surprising things. I think she surprised herself. I'm sure she surprised herself.
Well, you quoted Barbara's letter, and I think Barbara was a good friend.
Oh,
and she
wonderful!
Understood.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, she understood different kinds of loving.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Very, very generous letter. Yeah.
Viv, you wanted to say something.
Thank you so much, Kathy. I so enjoyed your novel and have really enjoyed this afternoon. I'm taking away a lot to think about. Really, you've made me think so much of almost this elevated saint almost, and yet with the feet of clay.
Yeah. I mean, Lewis called her Madonna, as I'm sure you know.
I'm thinking that as
time
progressed, and then you were saying just then you were saying maybe it was marred, maybe her perfect life was marred, maybe at the end with cross, but it sort of, you know, it begs the question: the life wasn't perfect. She anguished, didn't she?
Yeah.
For so many years.
True.
Headaches and psychological.
Yeah, true.
Problems that not psychological problems, but illnesses that might have had psychological roots. And
that's true.
It wasn't, and to be so brave, but to be shunned and disapproved of, when actually she had a very conservative upbringing.
Yeah.
Actually, that you haven't really mentioned. You mentioned right at the beginning about getting married in church, and then you haven't developed that. And I think this was a great gift that Johnny Cross gave, a terrific gift for her to look, and somebody else mentioned that, you know, finally
be respectable.
Mother would accept her. And the other thing I wanted to say was through your book, I really got into Edith Simcox, and I was so glad to see you had acknowledged the work that Connie Fulmer and Margaret Barfield did. Of course, Connie and Margaret were such good friends to us as a fellowship. And,
yes. Has one of them died now?
Yes.
One has died, and just heartbroken at that. But sorry, over to you, Kathy. Yeah.
No, I was just asking. I think I did read. Did one or has one or both of them died?
Connie, Professor
Oh, right.
Palmer has died.
Right.
Margaret is still alive.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
It was very suddenly, or about 10 months ago, something like that, Viv, wasn't it?
Yes.
Last year. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I emailed them.
Yeah.
You know, because they seemed well, they very much they were so interested in Simcox, weren't they?
Yes.
Mm. They must have done the wiki page, I think, and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gillian Beer also writes wonderfully about Simcox, actually.
Yes.
Mm. Yeah. Well.
Right. Well, anybody else, anything to add? If not, I will thank you on behalf of everybody, Kathy. It's been a wonderful afternoon. It's lovely to have people together talking about George Eliot again.
Yeah.
And even without the reality of being
I
in
know,
the same
it's
room,
still been great.
It's still been great and really lovely. And we'll keep you in touch with what the fellowship is doing, of course.
Yes, do.
But thank you all for giving up your time this afternoon. It was a pleasure, I'm sure, for all of us, and lovely to hear you talking, Kathy, again. And hopefully we'll see all of you, possibly more than that, I don't know, in 3 weeks' time, when we hear some interesting new research from Beverly, sorry, from Beverly Violet, who you've all seen in the discussion this afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you all very much indeed, and thank you indeed very much, Kathy. It's been fabulous.
Well, I'm so pleased to talk here.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome. Thanks, Kathy.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye. Thank you.
Bye, John.
Bye, Viv.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Good to see everyone. Oh, John and
Isn't it?
Sue. Hello, you.
Bye, everyone. I've got to rush off and see my mum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you, Kathy.
Bye-bye, Kathy. Thanks ever so
Bye.
much. We'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Are you still there, Dennis? No?
Bye-bye. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
I think Dennis is still there, Viv. Are you listening
Some
in,
of
Dennis?
us have our sounds off.
Oh, there's Brenda's voice.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I couldn't speak. My sound was switched off, but it seems to have come on now.
Did you enjoy that, Brenda?
Pardon?
Did you enjoy? Did you follow?
Oh, marvellous.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I would have liked to have given my own tuppence worth, but never mind.
It's so good to have you with us. It was Joy who alerted me to the fact we hadn't really seen you on the last few Zoom events we've had. So I'm glad you and John hooked up in the
Things
week.
have been in chaos. Yes, that was great. Well, your note on Facebook
Yes, that's
got
what
me
started
into
it.
contact. Thank you. Mm.
John, I forgive you joining in our thread on Facebook. It's all thanks to that Brenda's.
Yes. Yeah.
That was so fascinating.
Facebook does sometimes have its uses then, Viv.
It really does, yes.
My sound has gone.
My sound has gone. Oh, Mary, somebody else. Was it you before, Mary?
No, it was Jane.
It was Jane, wasn't it? Yeah. Mary. Well, I don't know what's gone, because according to this, you're all with us. I mean, you're with us.
Yeah, Mary you've had problems like this before, haven't you, Mary? I think it's her computer.
Yeah.
I think she said, you know.
Yes, she did say before, didn't she? Yeah.
Next weekend, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, lovely. That was a beautiful afternoon. Is Joy still there?
I am, but
yes, she is.
When I
hear
you.
Oh,
you can't see me because when I put my vision on,
I came on as the person speaking all the time. I was the only one who came into full view. So I thought, well, I don't want to sit and look at myself.
I
don't know what happened.
Go up to the top right hand of your screen, press
view
and choose gallery.
Yes, you are now. Yeah, but still, what happens if? But what happens if?
Play with.
Oh, that's it. That's it. Okay.
Choose
Don't
gallery.
have any clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see you now.
Yes, but before I was full screen. I couldn't make myself small. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm learning so much. All the little gadgets you can learn on. I learned the other day. This is a bit terrifying, actually, that you can pin people. So if you had a mad crush on someone, you go to the little blue square with the 3 white dots in the top right hand corner. You can pin them, and then they become full screen. Did you know that?
It sounds a bit like stalking to me, Viv. Stalking via Zoom.
Exactly.
Hi, Mary.
John.
Oh.
Bye, Mary. Bye. Oh, lovely. We're getting better and better at this, and well done, John, for managing it.
Oh, that's all right. As you say, Viv, we learn as we go along. I'm a bit more confident this time than I was last, and at least the computer didn't pack up halfway through.
Jackie, are you still there?
She's
Yes,
just
I'm
coming
still
again.
here. Lovely to see you. Yes, I'm still here.
Jackie, what
Thank
did you enjoy this afternoon?
I enjoyed that very much. Yes.
Good.
Oh gosh, this
yes.
is brilliant.
Thank you. Lovely to see you.
And I'm looking forward to Bev's talk in 3 weeks. That's going to be fascinating.
Oh, then that's
3 weeks time.
Make sure you send me the link for that one, please.
I will.
Yeah,
God,
we'll
yes,
make sure
me
you
too.
get it, Jackie.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes.
Lovely to have you with us, Jackie.
Well, thank you. Lovely to be with you. Sorry I couldn't get the video to work.
Well, next time. The thing is,
at least I could hear. At least I could hear.
And
I saw most of you as well.
This is
and
great.
I saw Mary as well. So I was pleased about that.
Good.
Yeah. Anyway, you look good.
I've got the book she's speaking about. I'll bring it in on Tuesday. Okay.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Yeah.
I'm coming to see Mum tomorrow in her bedroom.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Mum's bedroom. Yeah. Sorry about this chattering away.
No, it's
all right.
Oh well, it's a fellowship after all.
It is.
Yeah.
We are getting more.
Thank you for all the books you sent us.
Oh, you're welcome. There might well be more to follow. Could you make use of more?
Yes, we could make use of more.
Oh, right. That's good.
Yeah.
I'll see what we can find.
Yeah, so this is really good. And Viv's going to do a workshop one day, aren't you, after Easter?
Yes, when things are opening up, I can come.
Yeah.
Have you been given the box of?
No, not yet. And I've been asking them to give it to me.
Never mind, it's somewhere there. But
yes.
The book you wrote, John, you put together those George Eliot readings.
Oh yes.
Jackie thinks she can use them in her home.
That would be lovely.
Yeah, we want to have a day, and Viv will come as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll have
and we have another cousin, don't we, Jackie, called Jenny Hall.
Yeah.
And she's offering. She loves George Eliot and she orders things from you, doesn't she, John?
Yes, she does.
Not
Yeah.
a member yet. We'll have to work on her, Jackie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be good. There'll be a Somerset branch of the fellowship before long.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
They tried to start a London branch once, Kathleen and Bill, and they were full of good intentions, but they couldn't make it down to London every time, and it just sort of petered out.
Yeah.
London's almost too big, isn't it, for that sort of thing? You need Somerset, you'd cope with people locally who would come in, but if they have to cross London to get to a meeting, it was difficult. But there we are. Dickens and Hardy manage it, don't they? Oh well.
Okay.
Never mind.
If we can do it with Zoom, it's very good, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know if Dennis has gone to sleep, but I can still see.
Yeah, he says his
phone's still there.
Are you there, Dennis?
I think he's fallen asleep.
Or maybe his sound's gone off like some of the others.
Yes, perhaps so.
Maybe you can't be
lovely
heard.
to hear that voice, your mellifluous voice, Brenda. There's no voice.
Anyway, at
Well,
least I could see everybody's. I saw everybody's names who was there. It was wonderful to be with you. Thank you so much.
This is great.
Yes,
And
indeed.
this is
Thank
really
you
good.
so much.
Yeah.
Good.
And
Yeah.
interestingly, we've had a new member has joined during the course of the afternoon.
Oh, wonderful.
It just came up, you know, at the top of my computer that there was an email, and it was the PayPal link to the website to say that this man from Cardiff has joined the fellowship this afternoon. We are getting new members. It's good. And Viv, you saw Saul,
Yes.
who,
I know.
Yeah.
who is writing on a daily basis.
Yes.
All sorts of. I think he thinks they're very erudite and very clever, and some of them are fairly clever, but don't really want to be reading them every day.
No.
But he's joined in the last week.
Yeah, Jackie and I
By
have.
the way, I wanted to mention what was forgotten. There was a film of George Eliot's life starring Harriet Walter,
Yes,
which
A
is on
Scandalous Life, it
YouTube.
was
There was, and
Yes.
that is available on.
1998 or 9 or something. A
Yeah,
Scandalous
it's still
Life.
there.
Yeah, it's on YouTube, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
After the furore of Middlemarch, they
Yes.
decided to do a live.
Yeah,
Mm. And then Davies did Daniel Deronda, of course,
he did.
as well.
Yes.
Which was very good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to love you and leave you.
Okay.
And,
Nice to see you, Viv.
too.
Writing it up. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And John, thank you so much for the wonderful calendar you sent me.
That's all right.
The pictures were lovely. And of course, I was there with you.
Indeed, you were.
That was marvelous for me.
Yes, it was.
That was before I had my stroke. And
Yes,
got
I
knocked out.
know. Yeah.
You know, so I was delighted for that.
Good.
Anyway, thank you so much. It's a wonderful calendar.
Good.
And how is Sophie doing? Is she getting on all right?
Yes, she is. She's I mean, it's a difficulty for all university students, particularly in a practical subject like drama, but she's doing very well. She directed a play for the drama group, and that was on Facebook. No, not Facebook. It was on YouTube for a while, but we can't do it now because they were licensed to do 2 performances. But then she went on to write a play herself, which is still available on YouTube.
Good for her. Good for her.
I'll try and find the link if I can and send it to you.
Yes,
Jackie,
if you can. Yeah, that's
because,
good.
Yeah, you'd be
send me the
interested.
link. Yes, I would be. Yes,
Yeah.
I was most impressed by her.
Yeah,
And
she's
of course
lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, of course, I have her now on the calendar as well. With
Yes,
this.
of course. Yeah.
So she'll be with me all year as well.
Good. That's lovely
So
to know.
It was a splendid calendar, and the pictures were beautiful.
Good.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you very much. Yeah.
I wanted to do it as something special for Viv.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah.
Well, that was really nice, really good. Yeah.
Good. Okay then, Jackie. Well,
And bye-bye. Anyway, thank you for including me.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm not brilliant on all this, as you see. I
Well,
mean, I'm not sure why I couldn't get the video to work this time. I don't know. You know.
yeah.
No.
But at least we
But
had you.
at least I was there this time.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
I missed the AGM meeting. I'm afraid.
Yes.
But it worked for me.
Good.
And good to see you, and good to see several of the others as well.
Yes, of course.
You know,
Yes. People
and
you've met.
and yes, and it's nice to read all the names of the people that were there. It was very
Yes.
good.
Good.
It worked well, didn't it?
It
And
did
lovely
indeed.
to have people from so far away as
I
well.
know. That's the nicest thing, really, isn't it?
Yes, that's good. Yes.
Yeah. Lovely.
Yeah.
Okay then,
well,
Jackie.
anyway, all the best for you.
Okay, and to you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
for all your
Bye.
effort in organising this.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
thank
all
you.
right.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye.